This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your me, Louie Tee. Welcome. You are here on lockdown coverage. Your man Louie Tee covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. Week 3 in the National Football League. Arizona Cardinals, first time on the road. And now you know you're going to hear all of the East Coast time zone trips. Bruce Arians didn't want to hear any of that after the game. And rightfully so. They won these games last year. But I got a big question. Is this the same Arizona Cardinals team we saw last year? We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Taking on a desperate 0-2 Buffalo Bills football team. We'll get to the game in a second. But first, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and moving forward. If you're not new, what up? I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead, follow me on Twitter. Also, if you're watching on the YouTube discussion chat or you're on Twitter, leave a comment using the hashtag LouieTeeLive to have it read at the end of this breakdown. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead, give me that thumbs up, like the page on Facebook. So, let's jump into this breakdown. Watching this game, I was a little curious because I got what I thought I was going to get out of the Bills in terms of defense and intensity. You're 0-2, back up against the wall. You expect that team to come out with a level of desperation that's going to give them a chance to win. What I didn't expect was the Arizona Cardinals to cooperate in assisting the Bills in getting their first win of the season, but that they did. Let's jump into this breakdown. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. You know how I like to do it. Start with the road team and the likes, that being the Arizona Cardinals in this game. First half likes, to be exact. Pat P's interception, man, was that a thing of beauty? One-handed tiptoe job on the sidelines. Are you kidding me? I always say that he's the best corner in the league. That's my my story, and I'm sticking to it. He's the best corner in the league, and that's why. Because he makes plays like that, one-handed, gets both feet inbounds like a receiver. He travels. He'll go with the best receiver and check him all game long. Wow, that was a hell of a play. Wasn't a lot of bright spots in that first half for the Cardinals. David Johnson. DJ continues to show why he's one of the best young running backs in the league. He makes it look so easy. I think that's a part of the reason why he's not getting as much credit. And maybe because Arizona isn't a dominant running team. They don't run the football as dominantly as some other teams. But he can catch it too. I mean, he's so versatile. There's so many different layers and facets to his game. DJ is exceptional. The only 2 touchdowns the Cardinals scored in this game were both scored by David Johnson. This is the type of player that can change ball games. And in a game where they had ample opportunities to make this a ball game and come back, I didn't think he touched the football nearly enough for the Arizona Cardinals. Your quarterback struggling, run some screen game to David Johnson. Run him out in the route. Get him the football out of the backfield. I thought he could have touched the football more than he did in this game because he was the only player making plays. It was an abysmal day for the receivers. They came out of the gate dropping the football. Floyd went down with an injury. They had some issues in this game. Catching the football, Palmer wasn't sharp. He was all over the place. Give him some easy throws to the running back. How about you give him some screen attempts? How about you try to get the football to a guy that is making plays? Everybody else wasn't. So get the guy that is making plays the football more. And I didn't think the Cardinals did that enough in this game. But David Johnson is definitely on my likes list as well in the first half. Let's get to the Bills and their likes for the first half. Tyrod Taylor's legs. Look, he hasn't thrown the football well this year. And I don't have an explanation for that. I don't necessarily love the play calling. I didn't love it in this game either. I mean, it's funny. They scored 31 points and they fired the offensive coordinator. And they scored 33, and really that was more of the defense and the special teams. Tyrod Taylor wasn't special throwing the football in this game. But they did do something they hadn't been doing enough of under the old offensive coordinator. Let's get the football to Shady McCoy. We'll talk about that in a second. But Tyrod Taylor's legs were big, especially early in this game. Set up the first points of the game with a huge run. He escaped the pocket a couple of times, avoided some sacks, got up the field. He did some really good things with his legs, and he needs to do more of that. That's the reason he's in the lineup. That's a big part of the reason why he's a dual threat quarterback that can hurt you two ways. At least that's how he was last year. This year, he's not hurting teams with his arm as much. He did throw the deep ball a couple of times versus the Jets in week 2 on Thursday Night Football. But aside from that, he hasn't been sharp with his arm this season. But he needs to use his legs more. He needs to be impactful on the ground with his legs to make teams loosen up and maybe give him some better windows to throw the football into. Bills defense. They were dominant in the first half. They were dominant in the second half. We'll talk about this Bills defense a little bit later on as well. But the Bills defense helped them get out to a 17-0 lead. The first possession of the game to me was the epitome of why this defense was going to be the reason they won this game in week number 3. The Cardinals come out, get a nice stop, 3 and out, get a sack of Tyrod Taylor, pin the Bills deep in their own territory, force them to punt the football. It's not a great punt. And they're getting the football at the 40-yard line, essentially, are the Arizona Cardinals in Bills territory. I mean, they literally need probably 5 yards to get into Catanzaro field goal range. And they couldn't even do that. The Bills got them a 3 and out, pushed them back a little bit, forced them to punt the football. And that was what this defense was on this day. They made the plays. They picked up the slack that the offense left for them, and they made the plays that the Bills fans had come accustomed to seeing this Bills defense make when they were good under Jim Schwartz just a couple of seasons ago. So if they can get back to this type of swarming defense where you're putting pressure on the quarterback, you're generating turnovers, this is a Bills team that isn't dead yet. But is this going to continue? Is this something that you can rely on week in and week out? We're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. But Bills defense definitely on my first half likes list. The early 17-0 lead, when you're struggling and you're looking for a win and you got question marks, that's the way to do it. Jump out to an early lead, and they coasted the rest of the way. Really, the offense didn't help out after they got out to the 17-0 lead in the first half. The offense put it on cruise control, and they said, all right, we're done for the day. Okay, defense, you take over. You make some plays. Special teams, you chip in. We're done. We already did everything that we felt like we needed to do here. You guys take over. And so that 17-0 lead afforded them opportunities to be a little aggressive, to continue to push the envelope defensively, make some plays. Takes a little pressure off of you when you're up 17-0 versus being down and having to come from behind like they've been the majority of this season. So I thought getting out to that lead against a good Cardinals football team gave them the confidence that you saw them show throughout this ball game. And then, of course, Shady McCoy, a guy that I didn't think, and this is part of the reason why you could blame their ex-coordinator, Greg Roman, on the offensive side of the football. Now, again, I didn't think Greg Roman deserved to be fired because I didn't think that was the biggest issue with this team. But offensively, they have been struggling, and I didn't think they have gotten the football to Shady McCoy enough. This guy's a big-time weapon out of the backfield catching the football, and I didn't think they ran him enough. They didn't run him enough in between the tackles. Everything looked like it was trying to be broken outside. A lot of their runs was angled to go outside. I didn't agree with the way he was getting the football. And so this game, they were quick hitters right up the middle, which is what you want to do with Shady. Let him bounce it outside himself. He'll do that if he feels the need to do that. And yeah, you want to get him on the edge sometimes. I felt like all of their runs early in the season were slated to go outside. And so they were some quick hitters up the middle, allowed him to get up the field, make some plays. He was special in this game. 17 carries, over 100 yards, a couple of touches. That's what you need from Shady McCoy because this offense is not dynamic. The receiving position is hurting right now. There is no way that you should be relying on anybody more so offensively than Shady McCoy right now with the way the offense is set up. He needs to touch the football. He touched it in this game. Thought he could even touched it more. But like I said, they put the offense on cruise control in the second half because they had done so much damage in the first half, and the defense was ready to take over from there. But Tyrod Taylor, his legs and Shady McCoy's legs were the key to getting out to that 17-0 lead in the first half. Let's get to the first half dislikes. For the Cardinals, wasted field position on the first possession of the game. I talked about that already. You get a great stop by the defense, a nice 3-and-out. You get a sack. You force them to punt. Get the football at the Bills' 40-yard line. And literally, you just need 5 to 7 yards. You don't even have to get a real first down to be in field goal range, and they could not even achieve that and had to punt. And even though you did pin the Bills back down there, they were able to move the football, so it didn't matter. Can't waste that. The Cardinals that I have come to know and love under Bruce Arians, they don't waste that type of field position. That was just odd and strange to me. And I knew this was going to be a tough day. The first play of the game dropped by Michael Floyd. All right, you throw it to Larry Fitzgerald on third down, and he's looking for a pass interference penalty, and he doesn't catch it. And I'm used to Larry just finding a way to catch the football. And it was just that type of day where nothing was in sync. Speaking of which, offense out of sync. This offense looked abysmal in this game. There was no continuity, no rhythm, no flow, no timing, no tempo, nothing. This offense looked out of sorts. There were near interceptions all game long, first and second half. There were interceptions and turnovers. There were drops. I talked about Michael Floyd with the drop early in the game. He had another one over the middle. It was a good play by a defender, but I've seen him come down with that ball. There were 3-and-outs consistently throughout this game, especially in the first half when they could get nothing going. There were penalties galore. I just thought this offense didn't look anything like the offense that lit teams up last season and the year before that. And they just looked like a team that was struggling to figure out their identity. And I'm starting to question if they are that same offense anymore. I mean, they struggled against the Patriots. And remember, this is a copycat league. When the book is out on you as a football team and you don't do anything to dissuade a team from coming in and doing the same thing that the team did before that had success against you, then the book is out. And you have to change that narrative, or else teams are going to copy what other teams did to have success against you. And right now, the book is out on the Arizona Cardinals offense. If you just play two safeties high and play things tight up front and make them dink and dunk their way down the field, they don't have the patience to take their time and matriculate the ball down the field. They want chunk plays. They want to be explosive. And if you take that away from them, they struggle offensively. Then Carson Palmer starts forcing plays, starts turning the football over. There's 3-and-outs. They're not patient enough to take what's there. They don't run the ball consistently enough. So you can put them in situations where they will throw it 3 straight times and go 3-and-out. And that's what you're seeing with this Arizona Cardinals team. And if they don't fix it, and if they don't change that narrative, they're going to be in trouble moving forward. The defense. I thought the defense was okay, but it wasn't, again, this defense hasn't been impactful all season long outside of the game last week versus Tampa Bay. This defense hasn't been impactful. They weren't impactful versus New England. Jimmy Garoppolo went right in there and did whatever the hell it is he wanted to do. They weren't impactful in this game, not in the first half at least. The Bills offensively didn't do a ton in the second half, but they did enough in the first half to put the Cardinals in a position where they were trailing and had to come from behind. And it's not like the Cardinals came out of the gate like game busters this season and they were 2-0 and riding high. They just got their first win of the season last week. So it's not like they needed to be, they could afford to get down early and say, oh, we're fine, we'll come back, this is what we do. That's not who they are right now. They need a lead just like the Bills needed a lead in this game, and to fall down 17-0, I put that on the defense. Even though the offense wasn't helping you out, don't give it up. This Bills offense is struggling. They just fired their offensive coordinator. Right or wrong, they just did that. They're struggling offensively. Don't give them any opportunities to build confidence And I thought they did, allowing Tyrod Taylor to run and allowing Shady McCoy. The one guy that could hurt you offensively in this game was Shady McCoy with no Samuel Watkins in this game. You should not have been afraid of anyone but Shady McCoy, and that's the guy that hurt you in this ball game. Let's go to the likes for the second half of this game. Or let's go to the dislikes, for the first half of the Bills. There were none. When you're down 0-2 and you need it, that's the way you come out with a sense of urgency. I thought they did on the defensive side of the football as well as the offensive side to take a 17-7 halftime lead. You feel good to jump out 17-0. You feel really good about yourself. You go up 17-7 at half. You feel great. You come out in the second half and you dominate, pick up where you left off at. I have nothing bad to say about the first half performance of this Bills team. They needed that type of performance in the first half, and they went out and got it. Second half likes for the Arizona Cardinals. The Catanzaro field goal from 60 yards out. Wow. Especially in Buffalo. Swirling winds, tough place to kick, field goals consistently, and to bang it home from 60, that's saying a lot. And this is a guy that usually kicks in a controlled climate dome in Arizona to go out on the road in a tough environment to kick field goals and bang it home from 60. That's a confidence builder for him. The defensive safety. Towards the end of the ball game, Cardinals still fighting defensively. Like I said, the defense did everything they could to try to scratch and claw to get back into this game. They got the safety. They forced a fumble. They couldn't scoop that up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they did a lot of things defensively to try to get back in this ball game. It just wasn't clicking on this day. John Brown's return after the safety on the free kick was great. Put them in a position to get points. And Carson Palmer just pissed it away. But make no mistake about it, they tried. Guys tried. They didn't give up in this game, but it just wasn't meant to be on Sunday afternoon in Buffalo, in Orchard Park. Let's go to the Bills and their second half likes. The defense again. And I'm not going to sit here and continue to gush over this defense, but when you force 4 interceptions, when you get 5 sacks, when you hold a team like Arizona to just 18 points, you got to feel good about what you were able to accomplish in this game. And really, 2 of those points came via the safety that the offense gave up. So, this defense that had been struggling, that had been giving up a ton of points, gave up 18 points. And they forced a bunch of turnovers. And they did the one thing that Bills fans have been waiting for, and that's getting pressure on the quarterback. Well, they did that. They got 5 sacks in this game. So, this credit a lot of this victory to the defense for stepping up and making some plays and really starting to show the initiative, because this is a defensive football team. As much as we want to talk about the offense and them firing their offensive coordinator, this is a defensive football team. They're supposed to be, at least. And that's why you hire a guy like Rex Ryan, because you feel like this defense is legit and you want him in there because he's going to keep the defense legit. And as long as you got a good defense, doesn't matter what the hell's going on the offensive side of football. If you play defense, you can figure it out. Well, they haven't been good defensively, but they were in this ball game. And the scoop and score on the high snap on special teams, huge play in the game. That was the dagger right there that really put this game out of reach for good. Big play. If they want to make a mistake, let them make a mistake. You capitalize off that mistake, and that's what they did with Aaron Williams scooping and scoring that fumble and getting into the end zone. Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals and their dislikes for the second half. Boy, more offensive blunders. The offense was bad. I talked about it in the first half. The offense was bad in the second half. Carson Palmer was more of the culprit in the second half, throwing interception after interception after interception late. 3 consecutive possessions, 3 consecutive interceptions for Carson Palmer late in this ball game. Unbelievable. People have doubts about him as a quarterback. I have my postseason doubts about him, but never did I have regular season doubts until now. I think he's struggling right now. And I've always been a firm believer in this. When you start pondering and contemplating retirement, you're retired. The minute you start thinking, maybe I should retire, then you need to go ahead and retire. Don't hang around and try to win a ring, because you're already halfway out of the door. And when I heard before the season started that he was thinking about hanging it up, I said, well, then go ahead and hang it up. Don't start thinking about retirement, because once you start thinking about retirement, you're not going to play the same way. Because in the back of your mind, you're like, man, I don't need this shit. I don't need to be taking these hits. I got a kid at home, man. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in meetings. I want to be at home with my kid that was just born. And that's the way he's been playing this year. A guy that looks like he's done. So I've got my questions about Carson Palmer now. I've always had questions about post-season Carson Palmer, but the regular season Carson Palmer was on fire. He was a guy that you could rely on. He was consistent. You knew what you were getting out of him. Now I'm not sure anymore. The snap on special teams. That was a big play in the game. I mean, you make that field goal and you're that much closer to coming back in this ball game. Instead, it's a 10-point swing. You go from potentially putting 3 on the board to giving up 7. And then that's a really fine line you walk in this league. You know, and that's the difference between winning and losing. Not to say that you would have won had you made that field goal. But that's the difference between winning and losing in this league. And it's a fine line. You make a mistake, and the other team capitalizes off that mistake, and you never rebound after that mistake. And that was one of those plays in this game. And Tyrann Mathieu unable to scoop a fumble. How many times have we seen him make a big play on something similar to this? Ball on the ground, he swoops in, picks it up, picks off a pass, takes it the distance. He was going to score if he would have scooped up that fumble. He was gone. Had a nice entourage that was going to escort him to the end zone. He was gone. And he just bumbled it and stumbled it and knocked it out of bounds. And again, it was that type of day for the Arizona Cardinals. Nothing was really going their way. Nothing would go right. It just wasn't their day. Bills, second half dislikes. The offense was stagnant to me in the second half. And they just sat on the lead and they were comfortable being up and they were comfortable with the defense doing the heavy lifting in the second half. I didn't think this offense looked any better. Tyrod Taylor, 14 of 25 for 100 and some change. I mean, what are we talking about here? He still looks like the same quarterback that's struggling, and he's still dinking and dunking. And I know he doesn't have the greatest weapons in the world right now, but make it work. Find a way to push the football down the field. Their offense still doesn't look like anything to me. I wasn't impressed after this game. The safety late in the game. Look, don't give the Cardinals any life. You got that safety, and John Brown almost broke that return for a touchdown. If he scores there, it's a one-possession game. Like, don't give them any opportunities to come back and take this game from you. You're 0-2. Do you understand that if he scores a touchdown there, your players are going to start saying, oh, hell, here we go again. They're going to start pressing. Mistakes will be made. Don't do that. Don't give up a safety late in the ball game right there. Find a way to get out of the shadow of your own goal line and your own end zone and punt the football. But do not get a safety right there and give the Cardinals life. It was a 3-possession game. That safety made it a 2-score game. And if John Brown is able to make one more guy miss, it's a 1-score game. No, you don't give up a safety right there. And I thought this offense shut it down in this ball game. And it almost cost them. Banana in the tailpipe for the Arizona Cardinals. Don't expect the Cardinals to look this bad on the road again. It's a tough spot against the Bills, tough place to play. Bruce Arians will have his troops ready to play moving forward. Now, I will say, offensively, they haven't been that sharp this season. We'll see. The 2 AFC East teams that they played, they struggled against both of them. Let's see if they're able to turn it up next week. Because this was abysmal here. This looked more like week 1 than it did anything week 2 wise. So they need to get back to the week 2 team that put up 40 and did what they wanted to do offensively and defensively and be less like this team and the team we saw in week 1 that struggled offensively and turned the football over. So we'll see if they can get back to the week. But I expect them. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that Carson Palmer's going to throw 4 interceptions and they're going to struggle offensively and defensively. They're going to give it up and fall behind 17-0 in ball games. I'm just, until I see that consistently from them, I still think that this is a team that you need to be afraid of And they're going to turn things around. I'm still confident that the Cardinals aren't this bad right here. Bills. I'm not falling for banana in the tailpipe that the defense is fixed. All of a sudden you fire your offensive coordinator and voila, defense is fixed. Nah, they needed a win. They got to win. When your back's against the wall, you come out and you just let it all hang out, man. You leave it all on the field, and that's what they did in this game. But for 1 second, I am not thinking that this is what it is moving forward. So I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that the Bills are just good defensively now. 5 sacks, 4 interceptions. They're just back. I got to see it again. I got to see it again after that. They had a damn good game. They were the reasons why the Bills won this game. They were the reason. But among the reasons, probably the chief reason. But I'm not ready to give them that type of credit moving forward. I'm not falling for that banana in the tailpipe. Not at all. So let's get to your comments. All right, let's see what we got. First name, last name says, live, let's go. What's up? What's up, BE? BE says, we need to get a new long snapper. This is the second time he made errors. Can't have that. Absolutely. I feel like we need to run the ball more with a guy like DJ. Absolutely. And I like his running mate back there, Johnson and Johnson. Chris Johnson can run the football too. I mean, you got 2 guys that can be dynamic at the running back position, and they just don't get the football enough. But we see this all the time with pass-happy coaches and coordinators. They just can't help themselves. They like to throw the football. They like to get points out of the passing game. And so they want to throw the football. They can't help themselves. And Bruce Arians is one of those guys. Brian Emerson says, I believe it was Shady's first touchdown. The play before that, when they said the receiver caught the ball and there was a holding penalty on Peterson, the Bills declined. BA should have challenged that. He could have challenged that. And I think he probably would have won. But there are a lot of things that it's funny because coaches on the sidelines, a lot of times, they aren't paying attention to what's going on sometimes, and they don't know the situation, especially when your offense is struggling and you want to go and talk to the quarterback. You get involved in other portions of the game, certain aspects, and you lose sight of the big picture of being a head coach. And that happens to coaches sometimes when they get too involved with one side of the ball or the other. You know what I mean? You're a head coach. Bill Belichick does this all the time. Bill Belichick had no idea on Thursday Night Football, or actually it was Bill O'Brien, had no idea that he needed to go challenge the punt where the Patriots fumbled. And they gave up 8 yards. Even though the Pats recovered it, it was 8 yards difference in terms of field position. And his punter was like, hey, he didn't fumble that. You should challenge it. And he went over and he challenged it. Because he was over there talking to the defense or talking to the offense, and you lose sight of what's going on in the actual game. And sometimes that happens with head coaches all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot that goes in. On game days, it's a lot that goes into being a head coach. And if you, for 1 second, aren't paying attention, you can miss things. B says, the Bills player didn't have possession of that ball. I think you're right. BE also says, excluding David Johnson, our offense played piss poor. Again, wholeheartedly agree. Week 4 is a big one for us at home versus the Rams. That it is, and the Rams are all of a sudden 2-1 on the season, and they just exploded for 37 points. So that is a huge game now for you guys at the crib. You cannot afford to drop this one. You've already played 3 home games. After this one in week 4, you would have already played 3 home games. You can't afford to drop 2 of those if you're the Arizona Cardinals. That missed field goal that the Bills got for a touchdown was huge. If we make that field goal, we have 19 points to their 26. Exactly. It's a 1-score game. And that's what I was saying, was that it's a huge turn of events. It takes a game that's going to be a 1-score game now to a 2-score game and effectively put you out of the ball game, put you down by 3 scores. And so that changes the whole complexity of the game. I mean, that was a huge play. Like you said, can't have that. Long snapper's got to be better than that. And maybe you will be looking for a new long snapper tomorrow on Tuesday when we see all the tryouts for the teams. It wouldn't shock me in the least if they got a new long snapper after that. But that's going to do it for the breakdown of the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I will see you in a bit. Got some more games to break down. Got a couple more coming at you right down the pipeline. Got that big Vikings-Panthers matchup that I can't wait to sink my teeth into. Also got another game that I'll be checking out. So come back and join your man. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'll see you in a little bit. Hang tight. Have a good one.